Welcome to Deep Speak, where we ask the questions to the answers of the universe. And so we talk about synchronicities, and that's one of the things where it feels like the glitches in the matrix or the anomalies that happen that cause us to say, wait a minute, something beyond what I think is reality is how did I just think of something or talk about something and then it appeared in our reality. And let's actually talk about some of the synchronicities because I know you love talking about those. I'm itching,
yeah.
Okay, tell us.
I get so excited. One I want to bring up right away, nod to my sister. She had to put down her dog. She's had for a very long time this last week, and she had bought a batch of random stickers like a month ago or something like that, not knowing what was in there or anything. There were a few of like a Chihuahua, and one of them, her dog was a Chihuahua, and one that was a Chihuahua like in the stars, almost, like it was, sort of like a dog that had passed away or something like that. And just, that's a fairly minor one, but what are the odds that there would be when do you see stickers of Chihuahuas? Like, and she didn't order those intentionally for dog stickers. She didn't even know there were animal stickers in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like, what are the odds of that? So that's one. That's weird. One of my favorite is the bonsai tree. This is like 5 years ago now or something. But sitting at home thinking like, I like plants. I always kill them. Like, I've never had a bonsai tree, though. That'd be kind of cool to have a mini tree or something. Now, this is what intrigues me the most, is that it seems as though our marketing and algorithms have mimicked what the universe or whatever the simulation seems to do.
Right, which seems like there are algorithms and programs within our simulation.
Yes. So, for example, I remember immediately after thinking this, all of a sudden I saw on my phone somewhere an ad for a bonsai tree. I'm like, whoa, that's freaky. But how would an app have known what I was thinking?
Right.
Now, a lot of people are experiencing this, so I wanted to be specific. I don't know if they can read your mind necessarily, but one thing they can do is look at your past browser history and sort of formulate things that you may be interested in based on other people's algorithms.
And not only your browser history, but they take into account all where you've been from Google Maps tracking you. They take into account any of your social media things that any advertisements that you even paused on when you're scrolling through like Facebook or something or Instagram. It'll automatically assume that means that you have an interest for that. Yeah. Any keywords that you use in your posts, any keywords you use in any of your comments. As soon as I started talking about gardening and seeds, all of a sudden tons of advertisements for that popped up on Facebook. Now I have my GPS always turned off. Doesn't mean they can't locate you because we've seen that all of a sudden when we moved, YouTube was advertising things to me. And I'm like, how does anyone know? I haven't even changed my address yet. Like, I don't have anything registered here, nothing. How does it know? But it's, it's always triangulating where you are according to cell towers.
So that's exactly what I wanted to be clear on, because I think a lot of people are just waking up to that, and they think that's what a synchronicity is, and that's not a synchronicity. If anything, that's another program within the program, sort of, or at least humans mimicking how probability works, right?
Right, yeah.
Now, here's the kicker with my bonsai tree story. I left the house, and just down the street, there was literally a bonsai stand that was never there before. It was temporary. Some guy just put up a stand selling bonsai trees. Okay. What are the odds of that? That is very strange to me. Like, now, there's no way that the same people that create these ads and these algorithms to try to sell you products suddenly were like, hey, Bob, we need you to go set up a bonsai tree stand right now because Josh just looked for them.
Right.
That's something universal.
Or that your reticular activating system
is looking.
Never saw it before, and now it's seeing it. It would have been there. You just noticed it because it was coincidence.
Can you explain that to people that might not know what that is?
So your reticular activating system is basically the part of your brain that when you think about something or bring it to your conscious awareness, then your mind will automatically look for evidence to, and that's what confirmation bias really is. People get that, they get that wrong. They actually conflate confirmation bias with cognitive dissonance. Like, people are trying to use these technical terms, which is really cool. I'm glad people are aware of it, but they keep conflating the two. So it's confirmation bias, meaning your brain is looking for evidence to prove that you're right. So if you've ever bought a car and, you got a brand new blue Camaro, right? And then all of a sudden you see that same Camaro everywhere and you're like, how are there so many Camaros all of a sudden, blue Camaros, just like mine? It's because you've brought it to the forefront of your attention. And there's a great book called Can I Have Your Attention that I read, that I learned all about this way back in like 2007 or something. And it's really interesting how your brain will look for that. It fills in gaps. It creates stories. It's, and that's all primitive mind behavior that's important for survival.
Yes.
But anyways.
Identifying threats and stuff like that.
Correct. Creating, what's it when you create faces out of everything?
I know, pareidolia. I can't say it, but basically seeing faces and patterns to identify threats in the jungle is a very primitive thing in our brain. So would you say that bonsai tree was part of the reticulate?
Well, see, you could be like, oh, well, that's just a coincidence that this guy is, all was set up to do this well before you ever thought about it. Or maybe you were reading his mind and somehow, like, because you go past there, your energy was stuck in there, and maybe that stuck in the like highway of energy. And so he passes through there. He's thinking about going there and doing that, and then it automatically connects to maybe you're thinking about going to work, and you tap into that same energy, that same radio wave there. And so maybe there was like a collective consciousness or a collective mind read. That could be something.
So you're saying that that's like a universal synchronicity, basically not just a random event in time and space, but actually that there's a connection between thought.
It could have been. I mean, I'm just thinking.
Mixed with probability.
Correct.
Right.
So you might not have thought about it unless he had already. What came first, Right. Did you think about it and then he decided he wanted to be there because he felt drawn to that area? Or did he already know he was going to be there, was preparing for it, and that thought leaked into your brain or got into your vibration area?
I love this stuff. This is sort of what does this tie into the whole like chicken egg and psychic, what a psychic can do to like power of suggestion too, kind of thing?
I think that's a very big thing. I mean, we kind of touched on that in telepathy.
Yes, but
in our telepathy podcast.
Doesn't this sort of throw out causality? Doesn't that throw causality out the window, basically? Or at least linear causality?
Yes. This is what's interesting is like, that's what makes you kind of believe in retrocausality.
Yes.
What came first, right? The chicken or the egg? The egg or the chicken? Or did they both?
Right.
They both create each other.
Right.
Right? Did the egg create the chicken, so the chicken create the egg? That's a loop, right? That's a causality loop, right?
Yeah, so if that guy, had his own reasoning to put that stand up at that exact spot at that exact moment, that could have non-locally affected my thought, but we don't know which one would have came first at all.
Or if they fed off of each other.
Right.
Yeah, causality.
Or were there more people involved other than just me and this shop guy?
I mean, it could be his wife was like, you need to get out there, you need to sell these.
Here's a good intersection right here.
You never know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's so weird.
Right.
What other synchronicities do you have that are like undeniable?
Well,
there's so many.
So I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like since we have become more and more aware or awake, I guess. I don't know. I hate saying that because I hate to be kind of, I hate to be listing myself as some like special being who is awakened, I'm above everybody else. I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
Because we're all on our own journey in our own time, divine timing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like for myself and my own reality, the more aware I've become, the more I feel like synchronicities have become like faster and more in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't deny it. It's not just like, oh, I looked at the clock and it's 11:11.
11:11 is where
and then I looked
start.
at it again and it was 1:11. Like, you know, and I understand that there could be something to that. Like, people say that there's angel numbers, or that it means that you're supposed to stop and pay attention to something. It could be a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could just be that you look at the phone a billion times a day and you only notice it when numbers are lined up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How many times you went to go look at the time and then you're like, what did I just look at? I looked at the time and now I can't remember what it was. So you probably do it a lot. Mm-hmm. You probably look at your phone a lot more than you
consciously realize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. So there's some, though, that are beyond the numbers, synchronicities, or numbers lining up, or even things like, oh, I just thought about that and then I just read it on my Facebook, which there are some crazy ones on there too.
Right.
Are things that happened, and I'm just going to say recently, that was last year. Okay, King of the Hill.
The
show King of the Hill. These are the ones that are just like, that can't happen. Like, this doesn't, like, there's no actual person in real time doing something where I aligned with, right? King of the Hill was made way back in,
I think it came out in 97.
97, okay? Yeah. So many decades ago already. And me and Josh were outside hanging with our neighbors, and we were listening to 90s music.
I think so.
Or early 2000s.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of jamming and having fun. And then we came inside, and there were some synchronicities that we had while we were out there. And I'm like, oh my God.
Well, one of them, and I'm sorry, but I don't know if this was the same night, but you were like, I'll know we're in a simulation if we meet someone that's like Boomhauer, it talks like Boomhauer or something like that. And then one of our neighbors walked out and started talking like kind of like, you know, he didn't have a southern accent, but he was
kind of mumbling.
And
I mean, he might have been drunk, you know. But you know, it still was just kind of funny that I was like, oh my God, that is so similar. And I think that was the same night.
Okay.
Because then we're like, oh my God, we literally met a Boomhauer, and I said this has got to be a simulation if we meet somebody like Boomhauer.
So what was the next thing that you said?
So then the next thing I said is, we were like climbing into bed and we decided to put on King of the Hill, random, you know, episode. And I was like, oh, you know what? We were just listening to, I was trying to think of the most obscure thing that I didn't think would be in the show. And I said, if this show says, get your freak on, okay, then I will absolutely believe that we're in a simulation. Okay, King of the Hill. Like, why would they ever say that?
Right.
I shit you not then, right? We're watching it for maybe like 10 minutes. I don't know. Few minutes. And all of a sudden, Peggy goes, what, are you trying to get your freak on? To Hank. And me and Josh were like, no. Oh my God.
Effing way.
What just happened? So this show that was created many years ago, where we randomly started to watch it. And I set it up beforehand saying because we were listening to a song that was Missy Elliott, get your freak on.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I was like, I just pulled that randomly out. So it's like you were
testing.
I was testing it. I was like, there's no way that this show would say get your freak on. And she literally said it.
Yeah.
And it was just so strange.
Yeah.
And then I still am freaked out by that.
I know. And then the next episode was called Get Your Freak Off, because it was like a follow-up, and we were like, come on, are you kidding me? So what are the odds that we were watching that show at that time, in that season, that was X amount of years old? Like, that's an astronomical probability.
And I set it up that way.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't like I knew the episode was coming, or I had seen it previously and it was in my subconscious or for any reason. It wasn't that there's no, like, it's not like she said it because I said to say it, because she's not a real person.
Right.
So it's just so, how do you justify that?
Right.
And we had that several times within the last couple of years. Like, I had a wig. The red wig, remember? And I put the red wig on. I'm like, oh, what should I name the red wig? Because I named all my wigs after cancer. And I was like, I'm going to name it Candy. And then
you were describing Candy's character, like she's sassy and this and that.
Right. And then all of a sudden we were watching Futurama was on in the background. And then all of a sudden he says, and this is Candy, the redheaded blah, 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 blah. And I was like,
the same
a random character.
Yep.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Within minutes.
Within seconds, I think.
Almost instantaneously.
It was so weird. So weird. That kept happening.
I mean, these are so many examples. Like, I've been experiencing these for literally decades now, too. But it's weird because they go through... I guess when I personally started first experiencing them, I was so young. You know, I kind of thought I was like losing my mind or something, you know?
Yeah.
But this is interesting because this is where psychics come into play too. Like I met, a psychic. I brought this up in here before, I think, but I remember telling her like, hey, I keep seeing these things. I didn't have a term for it, but I'm like, I keep seeing where music lines up with what's around me and I can't figure it out and it's freaking me out and like really specific events, right? And she said, well, those are synchronicities, and that's sort of
you didn't know.
I didn't know what
it
was. Yeah, she called them synchronicities, and she, described them as like the universe's way of basically telling you, talking to you. Basically, I don't think she got really in depth or whatever. I'm like, what? Well, I felt a tremendous sense of relief that I wasn't crazy, you know. So ever since then, I was always curious how many people actually experience this stuff and either dismiss it or they just don't know who to talk to about it. But but they're paying attention to it.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's signs, like that's where you get into them. Like a lot of psychics and stuff and the spiritual community will then be like, well, that's a sign.
Right.
It's a sign to listen to stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up creating kind of like some black pill moments for us because we both went through that period.
Yes.
We were like, oh my God, what does 1111 mean? Does it mean my true love is going to come? My twin flame is going to be here? Like we would start to make up these stories again, filling in these gaps and like, what does it mean? And searching for this purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And because of that, then we realized it didn't mean freaking anything. We got disappointed and we're like, well, screw this whole thing.
Yes.
You went through that same period, right?
I went through the rebellious phase. Like, I'm just going to not believe in any sign or synchronicity that I see. And now I'm actually going to just ignore it and see if it still happens. If I'm purposely rejecting it and not paying attention to it. Well, through those trials, personally, they still happened. It didn't matter. It's just that they didn't.
When they happened, then I went, fuck you.
Right, me too. Yeah, it was like, oh, yeah, you're trying to tell me something?
Yeah.
It felt like this meaningless.
Or like this very, like, why are you so fucking vague? Why don't you just say it?
Exactly.
Like, why, if I have a spirit guide or God's talking to me or angels are talking to me, I don't know, whoever's talking to me, ghosts, I don't know who it could be. But if it's something coming from somewhere else other than our physical reality, then why the hell doesn't it just say it, lay it out for me?
Yeah.
So, I got annoyed with it and disappointed in it, too. And we went through a period of saying, well, it doesn't mean anything.
Right. The things that bothered me were when they would get really specific. And I can't think of any specific details right this second. But I know, like, all these years later, there's been certain moments where a TV show, maybe, it's always TV. And I personally think there's a reason for that. I don't want to get too off topic. I think it's how the universe is electrical in nature. I think it uses electronics because there's not resistance in it. But that's a separate subject. Yes, because we are in a simulation full of electrical impulses. Exactly. Anyway.
But in a binary code way, not in the gender way.
Yeah, right. Anyway, taking that term back. But where TV shows would play out this entire episode or at least an entire scene that seemed to mimic something in my life, like very specifically, whatever it was at the time. Yeah. And there's been times where it would be really emotional, like if somebody died in the family or something, and I don't know, anything you can think of that would be emotionally triggering. I've seen those play out, and then it's kind of like, well, what was the point of that? Is it just a reflection back on what I'm experiencing?
Or again, we like to explore things on all these different avenues. Everyone thinks that they have the idea of what is truth and what's fact. Right. Being open-minded skeptic, we want to kind of break down things and be skeptical about them. And so we look for meaning. We're always looking for meaning, and we're looking for similarities, and we're looking for things to feel and to identify with.
Right.
So you could be looking for the meaning and relating it to your own life.
Right.
Possibly.
At times,
yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that could be like, we've had that happen
That's
too.
That's more pattern recognition stuff.
Right. You know? And so those things are a little more vague and a little more like, are they just coincidence? And then also that happens with psychics as well. You've just heard a deep bite from our Deep Speak podcast. To hear the full episode, head on over to deepspeakpodcast.com. While you're there, come hang out with us and join the Deep Speak community at the Deep Speak Club, our members-only area, where you can find exclusive members-only content, courses, chats, merchandise, and more. Come get deep with us at deepspeakpodcast.com. See you all there.